Okay, good morning, guys. Go ahead and get started because I know we're running behind. My name is Alex. I go by the name Alex Midnight Walker online. And today what I want to do is just basically cover, since 2005 when I even got involved in this, what I've learned and maybe talk to you guys about some things that, some tips when you're out there. I mean, how many people are just now getting into this, raise your hands? Okay, just a few, but most of you have been out, so that's good. Okay, in 2005, I was just a normal business guy. At that time, I'd been divorced a few years, so I had a lot of time on my hands when my kids weren't around. And what happened with me was my daughter was at my house visiting, and walking down a road with her and my son and I were looking at each other, and my daughter was looking forward, and she saw what she described as a big man. She said he was fat, but not fat, down here as like a barrel, basically is what she's describing. And he hopped to the middle of the road, hopped to the other side, and I'm in Cherokee County, at this time, and it's Woodstock, actually just north of Alpharetta over there. And so we had some farmland and some creek land around there, and she described this thing, was a little freaked out, wouldn't talk about it till night, and I finally got more details out of her, and I said, that sounds like Bigfoot. I didn't know that they even existed over here, much less, I didn't know if they existed. So at that time, I do consulting work, and I'm an analyst by trade, so it was a mystery, and I figured I'd dig deep and start getting out there and seeing what it's all about. Like most people, I went on the internet and tried to figure out what was going on. As I went forward, I'd see all the signs and so forth, but I gravitated towards audio because of my friend Peck. I don't know where he went to. And some others who were doing audio and getting recordings with the calls. Initially, you always want to get the cool calls. But I'd heard Ron Moorhead's tape, and you guys are probably familiar with that, where they were communicating. And initially, I thought these were apes. But as I got out there and I researched more and more, I started to have more activity, and they started showing signs of them being not so much apes, but more people, personalities, just doing things kind of humorous. And anyway, so I started recording, learning from Peck with parabolics and things like that. And as I did, I developed what I would consider intelligence and activities that I wouldn't hear necessarily with my ear in many cases. A lot of times they're speaking at an infrasonic level, and you can't hear it with your ear unless you really start. I started to tune my ear later to where you could just hear it faintly. But in many cases, they're talking amongst themselves as you're walking down a trail, like these names here. I'd be walking down, and this one would go Oksana, and the other one would go Kroka, and I guess they're calling their names out as they see you at different points in the trail, and you would hear the names, Dimdag, Oberog. These are just some of the names that I've gotten over the years, and probably more than that. I just didn't write them all down. So I started to put all the stuff together and gradually, compile it and try to make some sense of it, because my goal was to be able to communicate with them. As I went on, these are just some of the things that I learned from them. They use tree sap. It seems to be like medicine. They purposely tear off the pine tree bark way up high, and I see that a lot. Knocking trees down purposefully, I think, for food, where small animals will get in there, and marking their territories with bow trees. Again, my own theories. Pack had a bow tree in his area between houses, and the only thing I could think of is if I'm in a culture or a civilization like that where you're somewhat nomadic and looking for your food, you want to mark your food plot sites where you're going to forage. and you want to be respectful of others, and you don't want to be picking off people's areas. And so I figured that that's why they were probably doing, in many cases, the bow trees to mark the areas, and probably some of those other markers. As we went forward, I would go out and play music. Now, I do want to back up for a minute. Any of you who are just starting, or if you're out there and you don't even think that they're around, a pretty good exercise to take is an audio recorder. In many cases, I would think that they're not even around. And I set down my audio recorder and I'd walk off. And later on, when I'd pick it up coming back and I'd listen to it, within 30 seconds to a minute, you would literally hear feet coming up to that audio recorder, start tapping it and trying to probe it, seeing what's going on. And you'll be surprised, that they were there. And for those folks, a lot of folks on the internet will say, oh, they don't do any of that disappearing act. That's all garbage and blah, blah, blah. And I would say to them, all right, well, fine. Set a recorder down where you could see it, at a distance. Set it down over there and then listen to it later and see what you hear, whether you haven't been watching it. And a lot of times you'll hear them come up to that recorder and something, probing it. You can hear the footsteps or talking even. And anyway, so it is what it is. All right, as far as music goes, I would go out and play music. In many cases, we'd hear them shaking what sounded like rattlesnake rattles to the music. We recorded this in different locations, Alabama and Georgia. Beating wood like they would a drum when I was playing flute. And in many cases, even showing their appreciation. This was in Buford. One of them, yelled "Chippewa!" It's kind of cool. Identification with faith. I wanted to see what their recognition of a cross might be. I set out a cross of rocks, and they changed it to, with some tree litter, a Trinity symbol. And at that time, I didn't know what that was, but, and I'll get into this in a minute, but that's what I was given, is that it was a Trinity symbol, the 3 footballs. Reading Bible, I'd go out and read the Bible out there just to get a reaction out of them. I was kind of probing them, When I recorded, I'd use that parabolic, and I wanted to see what the reaction was. So reading Bible, I had one time, it sounded like a female gospel singer. And mind you, I'm out there, it's like 11, 12 midnight. There's nobody in this area. It's wooded, heavily wooded, no one out here. And I set the recorder off about, a little bit further than that over there. And I'm reading the Bible, and I hear later, when I listen to the recording, what sounds like a gospel singer. Oh, like basically like big, black lady singing gospel music. And it was beautiful. And anyway, so that was what I got there. In another area, I read the Bible, and we're going to hear these recordings in a minute. And one of them said something, ora del Torah. And we'll get into the meaning behind that. The other one said Abba. And does anyone know what Abba means? Father. Right, Father. Yeah. That was after I read the Bible. So anyway, so yeah, and the other thing, if you're out there and they're around, if it's nighttime, if you, again, I don't know if I'm offending anyone by talking about faith, but if you're a faith and you want to pray, you sit down and you close your eyes and you pray and you listen. You'll hear them settle down. It's almost like they're sitting down and they're praying too. I've done that so many times, and you'll hear that settling around you if they're there. So, all right, woo-woo observations. They do speak at infrasonic levels. I mean, so many times over, we've recorded it where they're having a conversation. We were there, and I'm not deaf or anything, and I could hear, and didn't hear anything yet. We recorded a bunch of stuff. Mind speak, the Trinity symbol. When I put that cross out and she left that symbol, I was looking for galaxies, star clusters. I was just trying to figure out what this was that they had left. And what came to me, I finally said, I don't know what you put here. You're going to have to help me out. I was just saying this in my chair. I was sitting there. And all of a sudden, I heard a woman's voice in my head. And I'd never believed in this stuff before. I thought it was all garbage. But I heard a woman's voice say, the Trinity symbol. And I'm a Christian, but I didn't know what the Trinity symbol was. I looked it up, and sure enough, that's what it was. So, just out there praying, asking for, these times are difficult. What should we be doing? And when times get very difficult, listen for the calling. That's what I've been given. Asking about who these people are. I was out there one time just praying, say they do all these things. Who are these people? I mean, why can they do all these things and we can't just do them quite readily? And I was given the translucents. So translucent, I spelled that wrong with a T. People, or transcendence, not translucence. Transcendence. I'm getting off in a different direction, but I was given they're the transcendence. Now I didn't know what transcendent meant at that point, and most people associate that with angels, but really a transcendent is someone who has almost supernatural capabilities. Translucence, being able to do the disappearing act. I've been out with my dog. This happened one day. I was out with my dog, and I'm sitting there just smoking my cigar, and I see two things in front of me. It looks like almost watery in front of me, come out from behind the trees, and I'm looking, and then my dog starts growling at these things. They move back behind the trees, and then this one moved back out, seeing the water, and the dog's growling crazy. If my dog hadn't been there, I would have written that off as my imagination. But my dog was there. She growled, or she saw something just like I did. Another time, there was a fence where I was at, a big, hefty, strong fence had been knocked over, and they would come back in this area. It was getting dark, and you could hear one of them step on that fence, and it was creaking, and it's a real sturdy fence, just creaking real bad, and we had line of sight. My dog starts growling. I'm hearing that fence creak. I don't see anything. So my theory is that much like you would hit a tuning fork, and you can't see that tuning fork at a certain point, and then it comes in line of sight as a vibration, slows to where our eyes parameters are. I believe that's what they're doing. How they do it, I don't know. Shaman are said to be able to do that stuff. I don't know. Words and meanings. Recording out there. When you're recording and trying to figure out a language, or if you're trying to learn another language, you really need to have words in context. Meaning, you're in a situation, someone shows you something or whatever, gives you the word, and you make a connection. I was out making a fire, gathering wood, and then I was lighting up the flame. And at that point, I hear them say, and they were around. This was in Dahlonega, inflammable. Well, that's Latin root flamma is flame. Another word that I've been able to make a connection with multiple times is aún. I would ask them in Spanish. Now, I speak Spanish to them in many cases out there because it was comfortable to me, but for whatever reason, they used to take, hold of that a little bit better than when I spoke English, I felt. And if you know anything about this country, has Spanish or English been around longer around here? Anybody know the answer? Huh? No. Spanish was around from 1500 to 1850 when they mined gold. Yeah, it was very prevalent up in North Georgia. Spanish mined the heck out of gold up there. And we've only been 220, really, or maybe a little bit more, scattered in there. Spanish was very prevalent. Now, my findings based on the words that I've recorded, looking them up, a very heavy Latin root in their language. Okay, aún is very, it's a Latin word. It means still. Are you out there still? I'd say in Spanish, aún. I get that many different locations. Aún. So in context. So when you look that Latin word up, it's like still. I don't know if I should take that the wrong way. It's like, yeah, you born us to death. We're still here. But anyway, I got that a lot. Ora de Torah, when I was reading the Bible, ora, pray, Torah, first of 5 books in Hebrew scripture. It might be considered synonymous with scripture. There's, I think that was a Catholic book. It's ora, it's in Latin. That guy's, he's big. We'll listen to him in a minute, deep voice. All right, this is a word I use a lot out there, ia. And this word I picked up when we were in Alabama early on. We were, myself, Pack, and a few others, were recording a friend of mine, Adam, when we were in Alabama in this 2,000 acres, nobody out there. Got a Bigfoot. It sounded like Bigfoots were in the lake, and a young one comes up to an older one that had a deep voice and had been talking, and it said, "Iya, Papa." Okay, Papa is very international. I mean, my wife's from China. They even use Papa, Mama. I mean, it's like all cultures pretty much use Papa and Mama. But Iya, Papa was like a greeting, okay? Context, the situation. We heard him wading in the water, sounded like a young one playing, and Iya, Papa. So context. So I said, it sounds like a greeting. As I went on more and more, I would hear Iya a lot. And it always was in either like just like we say, hey, how are you doing? Hey, it's a greeting. I could say, hey, and that could be a form of aggression or hey, trying to get your attention. Same thing, iya. It's like a hey. So iya laman, I started using that word. There's a couple of phrases I picked up, and I try to, use them alongside. One area, this was in outside of Atlanta, where it's out north of Cobb County, was forest areas. Iane, I heard them say. I didn't know what ne meant at that time. Iane, I'd gotten cerca bermane from another area as well. So I'm starting to play around with it. Iane. And then it said, Ia Laman. So that, hello, Laman, the man. Again, Latin, La, Man. Iane, hello to you. Cerca bermane, I was in an area, and I'm giving you the context of these recordings. I'm in a dark, forested area, okay? Been playing guitar. They've been coming in very close. It's pitch black. I can't see anything, all right? But I can hear them start coming in real close. And then this one says, cerca bermane. And I was like, what does that mean? It's kind of, it has a cool sound, but when you look up the Latin closer, Burma, they would use for city or a boundary, like come closer to my space is what I would imagine he was talking about. Ne, when it's attached to, noun or verb or whatever, it ties that you to that word. So come closer to my location. We just, we talked about Abba a minute ago. I've gotten Abba one time, but it fits so perfectly with that situation, especially with Torah being said right before it. It's like, to me, it's a slam dunk. And we talked about Papa. My wife and I have been walking down path right after this event, and I couldn't understand what he said before this. Maybe Abon, Senocera. If you guys have ever heard Señor in Spanish, Mr. Señora, okay, that's Latin-based, masculine, feminine, and we were walking down the path at that time. Again, it's critical to have context, because if I'm just throwing a recorder out there and there's no situation, how in the world can I even try to guess or relate it to, or confirm that it relates to the situation? So what I've done is I've taken, some commonalities in different areas. This is just a sampling. I've got so much language recorded, but just a sampling of some common aun. Inflamado was, to me, pretty much a slam dunk. Here in Dahlonega, ate señorina. And you could hear a female's voice. Seno, señorina. That almost sounds Spanish. Now, in Dahlonega, I got recordings where they spoke, in this one night, there was a lady up there in Dahlonega that was staying up all night. She couldn't sleep. Her sister asked me to go see her because she knew I was doing the Bigfoot conference at that point. Said her sister was a mess. She'd been having strangers or prowlers outside her house knocking her house, and she was sleeping with a gun. She couldn't sleep hardly. And she thought that it was the Bigfoot, based on what I'd been talking about. So I went up there and started doing a lot of research up there, and sure enough, it was. And we were up there many nights. I was trying to introduce her to the bigs and get her accustomed to that so she'd feel more comfortable and could just relax. And those bigs up there, one night, one of them spoke Spanish, and I think I have the recording here. I'll play it for you. He sounds like he's speaking a Castilian Spanish from Spain. It's just like, English. If we heard somebody talk from New York or from, some other part of Texas, he's definitely from New York or somewhere thereabouts. That guy's from Texas. Same thing with Spanish. And this night, one of them spoke. He sounded like he was from Spain. Better Spanish than I speak. Okay, he said a few things in Spanish. There's no roving band of people. This is like out in the sticks area where this lady lived. And then another one spoke, and he sounded very much Mexican in his dialect when he spoke Spanish. And it was strange. So get a lot of that too. Anyway, so I just tried to summarize some of the commonalities. This is kind of a funny one, and I have these recorded too. When I was out one night, I've been playing. You guys may have heard the stories if you've heard me on a Blog Talk Radio, but I had to use bathroom, okay? And it wasn't an easy bathroom, it was a more complicated bathroom. And so I didn't have time to get anywhere but bolt for that bush over there. And I knew they were around. And just imagine, you know these are people, and you got to use the bathroom, and it's embarrassing. Now I got to do it in front of these people. Even though I don't know them, it's just really humiliating. So anyway, I'm bolting for the bushes, and they're just watching. You could hear in the recording, you could hear me breaking branches just trying to get where I'm going. And then, I have to drop them, and you hear one of them say, "Frot, egot, ooh." And I always wondered if that's a bad word. It starts with an F. But probably might be what I was saying if I saw it. But and then after I'm done, I'm coming back, and again, I'm humiliated because of what I had to do. And I walk back, and I say, "Sorry, guys." And then you hear one of them say, "You dawn." It's like, you already did it. What are we going to do? But it's kind of funny.
What?
Did you guys hear that tupa? And then you should have heard iya. I don't know if you could hear that very well.
One right again.
Go iya papa. The one above it.
Okay.
This is where the one says iya papa. We had before this we had recorded one. I mean, he sounded very big, like just real throaty, deep voice when he talked. He must have been big boy. So. Back that up real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. about frogs. The one Ia Nalahe.
Right here?
No, up.
One?
Yeah. This is the one that responds to me when I said Ia, and I said a few other things in Spanish, and he says Ia Laman, and then another one says something else. Actually, Peck was with me on this outing. That's me. That's me. I said, how are you doing in Spanish? I said, Cerca Bermane. Come closer. He says, Ia nada hey. I don't know what that means. And then, hello. Hey, I don't know what that means. Ia Laman after that. So, which I thought was cool because he called me Laman, the man. So, anyway. All right. Play this one. This one's interesting. This one's out of Alabama. DC.
Okay, gotcha.
Listen to this guy. He speaks, it sounds like he's speaking French. This is in Podunk, Alabama. He speaks really fast. We're going to have to back that up. I mean, and it almost sounds like he's coming from like a chambers. We're out in the middle of nowhere near these mines in Alabama. Okay, let's see.
It's called brute force method.
Yeah. We're Hora del Tora. Play that one.
Okay, gotcha.
This is the one where he says he's referring to the Torah, and the other one says Abba. Hora del Torah. Abba. It's hard to hear without if you don't have. Play back one more time. No, that's good. Okay, and play the robotics. Yeah. I'm going to go off the wall with you. You don't always get Bigfoot out there. I had something one night that was coming through grass. It was tall grass across the road. I was like, that's what I got. I had my recorder on. Play that again. Sounds like a little guy that has the modulator is going to blow you away on Bugs Bunny or whatever. That's what it sounds like. When I heard it, it was there. It was just this blurt of sound, and then when I listened to it later, it sounds like the modulator gun guy. So I don't know what that is. I mean, you run across some weird stuff out there. All right, I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to let you guys go. Ate Senorina. The last one, yeah. This is Delano. So much other stuff, so I try to limit it.
The youth Sasquatch again?
I'm sorry?
The youth Sasquatch, can you get that one again? Very top, youth Sasquatch.
Oh, youth Sasquatch? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Which one?
The very top one.
All right. Youth Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It sounds like an Indian tribe playing little kids. do the female chatter one. That one. That female chatter one. I mean, I've gotten where they sound like an Indian tribe doing. That's good. I had one I'll tell you about real quick. I was playing flute. It's when I first started playing, and I played horribly, really bad. But I was trying to play. I was thinking maybe they'd want to hear it. This guy let out it sounded like a T-Rex on a hill. And I was there alone night, just blood-curdling T-Rex call, and then another one, from up there, and then one from here to Arl over there, another T-Rex call. It's like, we're done with your flute. Get out of here. Anyway, I had that recorded. That was kind of cool. Any other questions or? Okay. Thank you. Okay. All good? All right. Thank you.